gun hurt her.
You. Your last customer.
A frantic call came through to the police. Shortly after, different news channels started reporting an incident that happened in Chicago.
PSW's in his chest. He's in critical condition. Have a trauma surgeon meet us at the ER entrance.
Late at night in Chicago, a police car races toward the hospital, carrying an officer who has been shot. The officer driving the car rushed through cars to get the wounded one to the hospital. He tried to talk to him to keep him awake, but the wounded officer was already drifting off. The moment the officers reached the hospital, doctors rushed to help them. They put him on a stretcher and took him inside. The officer that brought him explained what happened to him. The doctors rush him into surgery and call for Paul, the hospital's top surgeon. Paul quickly hands off his current case to another doctor and hurries to the operating room. As he walks to the room, another doctor briefs him on the case. He arrives and starts telling the others what he is going to need for the surgery. After putting on his gloves, he turned to start the surgery, but it was too late. The officer had already passed away.
Time of death, 12:24 a.m.
He told the officer who brought him in that they couldn't save him. The officer, broken, thought it was his fault, but Paul told him there was nothing he could do because he lost too much blood.
Sorry.
The following morning, Paul has breakfast with his wife, Lucy. He told her his watch is slowing down. Lucy suggested getting a new one, but Paul is attached to the one he already has. Then they started talking about their daughter's acceptance into college.
She's going to get in.
I know. I just miss envelopes.
As they are talking, their daughter Jordan has just received the exciting news that she's been accepted to a university in New York. They both heard the scream from upstairs and assumed she got good news. Shortly after, Jordan came to them and announced the news herself.
Thank you. I got in. I got in, I got in, I got in, I got in!
She promised Paul that she would come to do her laundry and visit them. She then went back to her bedroom to call and check up on her friend about her acceptance. After she left, Lucy turned to Paul and saw that he actually was not that thrilled. Later, the family attends Jordan's soccer match, cheering her on from the sidelines. Paul is a bit sad because Jordan is going to New York and not somewhere near. Lucy reminded him she also had to leave for Texas for college.
Yeah, I think my dad was happy when I wanted to leave Texas to go to college.
She then reminds him that there are different occasions Jordan would come to visit, and they would also go and visit her. As they talk, a man next to them keeps scolding his daughter about how she plays. Paul interrupted and told him to come down. The man replied in an offensive way.
Jesus Christ! Take it easy, pal. You're gonna give yourself a heart attack.
I wasn't talking to you, Lakeshore Drive.
Paul calmly reminded him that the girls are kids and he should calm down. The man kept being aggressive, but Paul tried to handle it in a better way. The man tried to get physical and pushed Paul. To not make things worse, Paul tolerated this, and Lucy walked in between. The man mocked him for making his wife defend him and walked away. Afterward, they celebrate at a pizza restaurant with Paul's brother Frank. The three of them told what happened to Jordan.
Why didn't you whoop this guy's butt? Like in the old days. You should have your mom came over.
Frank started telling them that Paul was a good fighter back then. Paul then told them he used to fight his father while he was young, but he was the one who used to cry because he always lost the fight. Frank then started showing Jordan self-defense mechanisms, but she already knew that. She told him that she trains.
Seriously, she trains Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, this one. Watch out.
Frank then turned his face to Lucy and asked about her PhD. She told him that she is almost done, and they all raised their drinks for her. After the lunch, Paul and Frank step aside to talk. Frank wanted money. Paul agreed to give him $2,000, and Frank thanked him.
Hey, man, I've been convicted of a crime. It's not like I'm a criminal, but...
A valet named Miguel overhears their talk and notices that the family won't be home that evening.
It's La Fonda.
At 8 o'clock, okay?
It's 3 o'clock, I got it.
Wednesday, 8 o'clock, La Fonda.
Before returning the car, Miguel secretly snaps a picture of their address from the car's dashboard. That evening, the family prepares to go out for Paul's birthday. Paul found a new watch that Lucy bought him, and he happily thanked her. As they talk, Susan calls Paul to tell him that his patient, Terry, is sick.
Terry has 104 fever.
So, no birthday dinner at La Fonda.
Jordan told them she will tell Uncle Frank and hugged her father, telling him they will have the dinner soon. After she left, Lucy told him they will go out the next day. After this, Paul went back to the hospital while Lucy and Jordan decided to stop at the store for groceries instead. When they return, they notice a van parked strangely near their home. Jordan heads upstairs to make a phone call, while Lucy starts baking in the kitchen, but a man is standing by the door monitoring everything. Unaware of the danger, Lucy continues with her cake until she notices something odd. Pages of her cookbook flipping, as if a draft had passed through. Then she notices that the window is open, even though it should have been closed. She asks Jordan if she found her iPad, and Jordan confirmed. She then walked to the window and closed it. Investigating, she finds muddy footprints on the floor and realizes an intruder is inside. She calls out for Jordan, but before the girl can respond, a man hiding in the bathroom grabs her.
I'm gonna have to call you back. My mom's being a total psycho.
Lucy grabbed her phone to call the police. Moments later, Jordan is dragged downstairs, where 3 armed criminals appear. Lucy cried and begged them to leave them alone. They threaten her life unless Lucy obeys their demands. Their leader forces Lucy to the safe and orders her to hand over all the family's valuables while the others ransack the house. She begged them not to hurt her daughter, and the man told her that is totally up to her. Downstairs, tensions rise among the intruders. One of them warns his partner to stop playing with a knife and makes him put it down. As they were going up, Lucy told the man that her husband has 2 watches and there is cash in the safe. The man sarcastically thanked her. Meanwhile, downstairs, one of the men went to the basement to fetch a rope. Lucy failed to open the safe. She tried to explain she is nervous because he is pointing a gun at her. At the same time, left alone, the man with the knife takes the opportunity to touch Jordan inappropriately. Lucy kept struggling with the safe while Jordan pleaded with the man to stop. Lucy opened the safe at the same time and started putting everything inside his bag. Meanwhile, the guy who went to get the rope came back. He started tying Jordan, but the first man wanted to have more time before she was tied up.
Just give me 2 minutes, please. I'm begging you. 2 minutes, please.
It's not that kind of a party, all right?
The second man refused, which sparked an argument between the two. While they were distracted, Jordan seized her chance. She grabbed the knife and slashed one of them across the face. Enraged, the other attacker knocked her to the floor. Just then, Lucy returned with the third robber and, realizing the danger, acted quickly. She hurled boiling water at one man's face and urged her daughter to escape. But before they could get away, the criminals lost patience and opened fire. At the hospital, Paul was in the middle of an operation when an announcement came in. 2 new patients, both female, were on their way to the ER. He handed his case to a colleague and hurried to assist, but the other doctors stopped him, keeping him from the operating room. He realized it was his family. He ran to the ER and was told Lucy had been taken to surgery. He rushed to the surgery room. Once there, the doctor revealed that Lucy hadn't made it. The truth was unbearable. Devastated, Paul walked in to see Lucy's body and was crushed by the sight. Detectives Raines and Jackson soon arrived, questioning Paul about what happened and noting the valuables stolen from the safe. Frank also showed up, furious that police hadn't taken the recent wave of crime seriously. He asked how many robberies had happened recently, and the detectives revealed there had been 6. Frank yelled at them for not warning the residents. Paul, however, told his brother to calm down. The detectives promised they would track down those responsible. Before they left, Raines gave Paul his card, telling him to call if he needed anything.
It's got my cell phone number on there. Thank you, Detective Prince.
During this tense moment, a nurse delivered a small relief. Jordan had survived surgery. Paul rushed to her side and the doctor told him the surgery was a success. Despite being stable, she was still in a coma. Paul stayed faithfully by her side.
So I gotta take Mom home to Grandpa today.
Sometime later, Lucy's funeral took place, with her father, Ben, giving a heartfelt speech. Paul listened, grieving the loss of his wife.
And I'm seeing something I was never meant to see.
On the drive back, Ben thanked Paul for bringing her to her childhood place. He also told him he would always have a place there. He then asked if the police had found anything. Paul told him 3 repairmen had been seen around their neighborhood. Suddenly, Ben pulled over, noticing something on the road. Overcome with anger, he sped to his property, where 2 poachers were spotted. As soon as they saw him, they took off running, knowing they had been caught. Ben chased after the poachers, firing his gun as they fled into the distance. They managed to escape, leaving Paul shaken by what he had just witnessed. Ben, however, remained firm in his beliefs. He told Paul that relying on the police was pointless since they only showed up after the damage was done. Sometimes, he insisted, a man must take action himself. To prove his point, he shot the wounded deer the poachers had left behind, putting the animal out of its misery. Not long after, Paul drove through the city while speaking on the phone with Detective Raines. He grew frustrated when he heard there were still no suspects, and in his foul mood, he lashed out at a man who approached his car. Raines reassured him and told him he would update him if anything happened. Paul then drove away as the homeless man shouted insults from behind.
Have more information. Yep.
Later, he visited Jordan, who was still in a coma. Her friend Sophie was there reading her a book. Paul entered and greeted her. He asked what she was reading, and she told him it was an economics book. Paul joked, saying that it was not going to help Jordan wake up. Sophie laughed at this, but said she thought it would help Jordan not fall behind. She asked if he wanted her to leave, but he asked her to stay.
Do you think it helps?
I know it does.
Paul started therapy because he couldn't sleep. He found it hard to rest in their bed, so he just sat on the couch until he passed out. Even then, it was difficult for him to sleep. He couldn't go to work or stay at home. He felt he had failed to protect his family. His therapist told him that everything was a process and it would take time.
This is a process, and it's gonna take time.
I know it's a process.
Desperate for answers, Paul goes to the precinct and confronts Raines in person. He asks about the DNA evidence, only to learn it didn't match anyone in the system. On the detective's office wall, Paul notices a board cluttered with dozens of open cases, most of them unsolved. It's clear the department is stretched too thin. Raines tells him most of the cases are gangster-on-gangster crimes, and the department doesn't care much about them. But Raines tells him his wife's case is different. They will at least manage to find one of the men, and he will snitch on the others. Paul asks if he could put out a reward for information, but Raines warns it would flood them with false leads.
We'll just get flooded with false leads. Me and my partner are gonna have to waste time tracking them down.
He then asks if he should hire a private investigator, but Raines tells him private investigators are good for simple cases like a cheating spouse or a missing person, not for murder. It would just be a waste of money because if they tried to interfere in a police investigation, it would count as tampering with evidence, and they'd lose their license. One evening, while leaving the train station, Paul notices two men bothering a young woman. He tries to intervene, but instead of backing down, the men turn on him.
What the say, puto? Just leave her alone.
You talking to?
They beat him badly, though their distraction gives the girl a chance to escape. When Paul returns home bruised and exhausted, he turns on the television and sees a commercial for a local gun shop. The ad plants an idea in his mind. The next day, he visits the shop. The clerk greets him and proudly shows him a variety of firearms. She then explains the process of purchasing one. To Paul's frustration, it involves extensive paperwork, mandatory safety classes, and constant monitoring by cameras. He leaves, saying he'll think about it.
I'm gonna think about it, and I'll come back.
Great, just ask for Bethany.
Soon after, while working at the hospital, Paul is treating a new gunshot victim. As they move the man for surgery, a pistol slips from his pocket and clatters to the floor. Paul secretly keeps the gun by slipping it under the operating table during surgery. He then hides it in his clothes and takes it with him. He tries to fire it for the first time, but the shot ricochets, startling him and making him realize how unprepared he is. Determined to improve, he spends his free time watching instructional videos and practicing until his aim becomes steady and reliable. Not long after, Paul is called to the ICU, where he learns that Jordan has suffered a seizure. Her condition is worsening, and the chances of recovery look slim. Seeing her strapped down for safety fills him with anger, especially when he thinks about how the men who did this to her are still free. This becomes the breaking point.
Look what these animals did to my baby.
That night, Paul takes the gun, pulls up his hood, and heads into one of Chicago's rougher neighborhoods. He walks deep into the neighborhood. When he comes across two men trying to steal a woman's car, he confronts them. They respond by shooting at him as they speed away, but Paul rolls to avoid the gunfire and quickly returns fire. His bullet strikes the driver, causing the car to crash. A shard of glass slices Paul's hand during the chaos. A woman watching from a window records everything. The passenger scrambles out of the wreck and fires wildly. Paul takes cover behind another car, waits for his chance, and then shoots him in the head. Paul then walks up to the man. After delivering one last shot to make sure the attacker won't get up, Paul tells the woman to run and calmly walks away. He then approaches the car to see the other man take his last breath before dying. On his way home, he disposes of the hoodie in a trash can and takes the train back. He then cleans his wounded hand and sleeps on the couch. As he tries to sleep, he keeps having flashbacks of the earlier incidents. Soon after, detectives Rains and Jackson begin collecting witness statements. The woman who was nearly robbed is grateful for her rescue.
He saved my life. Like a guardian angel.
The detectives get the same description from everyone. People are calling him a guardian angel, but the bystander who recorded the video calls the shooter cold and merciless. They kept watching the footage and noticed that he hurt his hand. But it is clear he hasn't been shot, but it is from firing a gun. Jackson thinks he is someone who has never fired a gun before. Rains asked the witness to not upload this online, but she did that hours ago.
I uploaded that shit hours ago. I'm getting hits like a mother.
Terrific.
The footage spreads online, though Paul's face isn't visible. Viewers see only a hooded man with an injured hand. Paul watched the footage sitting at his house. He couldn't believe he actually did that. The news quickly latches onto the story, calling the unknown vigilante the Grim Reaper. Even the reporters think he is a hero. People are also pulled into the story, interested.
This guy in the hoodie, they're calling him the Grim Reaper, that shot these bad guys, these carjackers, according to witnesses.
At the hospital, Paul hides his injury under bandages and keeps his hand in his pocket whenever police pass by. Later that day, he treats a young boy who has been shot. With a calm and caring approach, Paul gains the boy's trust, and the child admits he was attacked by a local drug dealer known as the Ice Cream Man.
The ice cream man, honey.
The ice cream man.
From his medical chart, Paul even manages to find the dealer's address. After finishing work, Paul takes another hoodie from the hospital laundry and heads into the dangerous neighborhood where the young boy had been attacked. There, he spots the Ice Cream Man loitering on the street.
Got mine, but show him the picture. You'll see that cat.
Hey, look here.
Without hesitation, Paul raises his gun and shoots him before quickly escaping. Locals rush in immediately, looting the man's cart for whatever they can grab. Not long after, detectives arrive at the scene. Once again, witnesses describe a mysterious figure in a hoodie.
The Grim Reaper. They say he didn't take anything, just walked up, shot the victim, and left.
Jackson is confused about that. She told Rains who the person that was killed is. Rains watches some kids on the sidewalk reenacting the shooting and notices one detail. The child mimics the gunfire with his left hand. Remembering the earlier video of the Grim Reaper, Rains starts to suspect that both incidents involve the same person. Paul keeps treating his wound. The media soon erupts with the story of the vigilante striking again. While police leaders scold the detectives for failing to stop him, Paul secretly watches the coverage at home, feeling a mix of pride and satisfaction. The media admired him for what he is doing. Some people made it a racial issue, while the others think he is serving justice.
I mean, he's making it hard for the people that live on that very block.
Back at the station, the detectives are receiving heat from their boss. Their boss is scared of a copycat. The two shared whatever they found, but it was not enough.
He had a lack of basic weapon skills, to say the least.
Paul started feeling better. His therapist noticed this and asked if he started doing anything new. She then advised him to keep doing whatever he is doing now.
Well, whatever you're doing, keep it up.
Okay, I will.
A few days later, Paul is in surgery with another gunshot victim and is stunned to realize it's Miguel, the valet who had once mocked him and stolen his address. But he doesn't know this detail. But on Miguel's wrist is Paul's birthday watch. Though Paul tries to maintain professionalism, his effort to save Miguel is half-hearted, and Miguel dies on the table.
Time of death, 9:35 p.m.
Seizing the opportunity, Paul slips into the ambulance, takes Miguel's phone, and even uses the dead man's finger to unlock it. He recovers both the stolen watch and the phone, then retreats to his office to look through the files. As he scrolls through Miguel's photos, Paul feels a surge of disgust when he finds a picture taken inside his own car. It was his home address. He had a flashback of his family talking about their plans with Frank. Digging deeper, he notices another image, a liquor store. He decided to go, but as he walked out, he found Frank by the door. He came there to check up on Jordan and him. He asked if he could take him out for lunch, but Paul insisted that he couldn't leave now. Paul asked if he wants money, and Frank took offense at that. He was there to give back the $2,000 he owes him and to celebrate him having a job now. He then walked away as Paul tried to talk to him from behind.
Frank.
Later, man.
I'll see you.
Yeah.
Paul then took another hoodie from the laundry and went to the liquor store. Posing as a friend of Miguel, he tries to gain the trust of the owner. But the man notices the hospital tag still attached to Paul's hoodie and quietly sends a text to someone named Fish, asking him to come quickly.
Panerai watches? You got any of those?
Meanwhile, the owner reaches for a revolver, but Paul spots the movement in a mirror. He reacts instantly, hurling a dart into the man's hand. He orders him to drop his gun and demands to see the stolen items. The owner, now under gunpoint, reluctantly leads Paul to a safe in the back. The owner insists that he doesn't know anything and only knows the people that do the drop-offs.
Tell me what is this? What is this bullshit?
Inside are the valuables taken from Paul's own house. Before Paul can act further, Fish storms in and opens fire. Paul ducks in time, causing Fish's bullet to kill the owner instead. A firefight erupts. Fish sprays bullets wildly while Paul scrambles to reload. When Fish slips on the spreading pool of blood, Paul grabs a guitar from the room and smashes it over him, then topples a piece of heavy furniture in his direction. Fish narrowly dodges and retreats toward the bar. Using the security cameras to his advantage, Paul lines up his aim and shoots Fish in the leg, dropping him to the ground. Shit! Paul steps on Fish's injured leg, demanding to know who killed Lucy. Under pressure, Fish admits it was a mechanic named Joe and says his address can be found in his phone. As Paul reaches for it, Fish kicks him hard, sending him crashing into a shelf. Fish gets up, gun in hand, ready to finish him, but a bowling ball falls from the shelf and strikes his head, knocking him down. Paul seizes the moment and shoots him with his own weapon. Before leaving, Paul grabs the liquor store's security hard drives, but accidentally drops his ring without noticing. Back home, he watches a tutorial video to figure out how to destroy the drives with a drill. The next day, news of the Grim Reaper spreads even further, with media coverage reaching a frenzy.
This old white dude, and he's walking with his hood up, looking super suspicious, just like...
At the hospital, Paul discreetly pockets syringes and medicine before detectives Raines and Jackson arrive. They show him Fish's photo, along with the ring they recovered at the crime scene.
What did he say?
Well, unfortunately, he was killed last night.
Believing it to have been stolen, they return it to Paul as evidence linked to the robbery, not realizing it was actually his.
Now that we have Carp, it's just a matter of time before we have the rest of them.
Relieved, Paul thanks them politely, then later destroys Fish's phone to erase any trace. Determined to follow the new lead, Paul visits Joe at his auto shop. He sneaks inside while Joe is working under a car and knocks him unconscious with a wrench. When Joe comes to, he finds himself tied up beneath the vehicle. Paul interrogates him brutally, injecting him with drugs, cutting his skin, and pouring brake fluid into the wound to inflict unbearable pain. Finally, Joe breaks and reveals the name of the man responsible for Lucy's death, Knox. Paul coldly thanks him, pretends to release him, then triggers a chain mechanism to drop the car and crush Joe. Meanwhile, detectives grow more suspicious. They visit Frank, explaining that the Grim Reaper seems to be targeting the same criminals involved in Lucy's murder. They want to see his hand, hoping to match the vigilante's injury.
Of course. So, do you mind if we see your hands?
At the hospital, Paul spends time by Jordan's side, but sees troubling news on TV. Copycats have begun committing murders in the Grim Reaper's name. Suddenly, he receives a call from Knox, who orders him to meet at a nightclub within 30 minutes.
That's a club off Ashland. Are we waiting?
Why would I do that?
As Paul heads to the club, Frank stops by Paul's house. When no one answers, he enters and finds the basement filled with guns, ammunition, and signs of Paul's double life. The truth hits him. His brother is the Grim Reaper.
Paul.
At the crowded nightclub, Paul messages Knox to confirm his arrival. Knox tells him to come to the bathroom. Following the sound of a ringing phone, Paul kicks open a stall only to find a phone left there as bait. At that moment, Knox emerges from behind, using a bystander as a human shield, and opens fire wildly into the crowd, killing innocent people without hesitation. During the chaotic shootout in the nightclub, Paul is wounded and takes cover inside a bathroom stall. From there, he returns fire, managing to hit Knox. Thinking fast, Paul shoots at the power box, plunging the club into darkness. In the confusion, he slips away, blending in with the panicked crowd. Soon after, the detectives receive word about the incident. They rush to the hospital, where one of the injured victims turns out to be Knox himself. Paul hides inside another hospital room, where he painfully tends to his new injury using glue and a stapler. Knox provides detailed information about the shooter, leading the detectives straight to Paul's office. When they arrive, however, Paul is nowhere to be found. Later, he returns home only to find Frank waiting for him. Frank confronts him, horrified by how far he has gone. Paul insists he had no choice, arguing that no one else was willing to act.
I worked hard. I obeyed the law.
Their tense exchange is interrupted when the detectives ring the doorbell. Frank answers and lies, telling them Paul isn't there.
We're expecting your brother.
Yeah, he's out. Dinner party. Why, what's up?
The detectives remain suspicious, but lacking a warrant, leave the house. Frank goes back to Paul and starts talking about how they can fix things.
All right, we gotta figure this out if there's anything the cops can find. You know, there were cameras in the club.
That night, Paul receives a call from the hospital with the news he's been longing for. Jordan is awake. He rushes to her side, relieved to finally hold her again. The reunion is bittersweet, as he must break the news that her mother is gone. Overcome with grief, Jordan breaks down in his arms.
Dad, they won't tell me where Mom is.
Once Jordan is stable, Paul promises Frank that his vigilante days are over.
Not this other thing, not this other guy. You.
It's over.
A week later, Jordan is discharged and allowed to go home. Detectives question her, but she has no memory of the night of the attack. As Paul and Jordan ride the elevator, Knox suddenly joins them. For Jordan's safety, Paul pretends not to recognize him.
Are you better?
Yeah.
Knox makes casual small talk, but before leaving, he hints that he'll be seeing them again, a clear threat. Realizing Knox is closing in, Paul returns to the gun shop and legally purchases weapons. That evening, as Jordan gets ready for bed, Paul notices movement outside.
Just down a little bit. Yeah, just a little bit.
Why are you moving this?
He instructs her to hide under the stairs and call 911. Moments later, intruders break into the house. One shoots at what he thinks is Paul sleeping in bed, only to discover it's a decoy made of pillows. Another follows the sound of running water but falls into a trap, ambushed and killed by Paul with a single shot. When the first intruder checks on his partner, Paul is waiting and takes him out as well, sending his body crashing down to the lower floor.
Jordan, I'm okay.
Dad!
Stay quiet.
Hearing noise from the basement, Paul descends only to be ambushed by Knox, who shoots him in the shoulder and knocks him onto the couch.
Sit down.
Dad?
Jordan appears at the top of the stairs, screaming in terror, which distracts Knox just long enough. Paul slams a hidden button on his table, revealing a concealed gun, and uses it to kill Knox once and for all. When the police finally arrive, Paul insists that his injuries were sustained during that night's attack and explains that all of his firearms were obtained legally.
You can call Jolly Roger Sporting Goods. Ask for Bethany.
Though the detectives remain skeptical, they accept the outcome since the case has been effectively closed and the criminals dealt with.
And Dr. Kersby, stick to saving lives. You're good at it.
Sometime later, Paul takes Jordan to New York City to begin her new life at college. Her friend is waiting for her. As Paul leaves and walks back toward his car, he notices a thief snatching a bag from a bellhop's cart. Instinctively, Paul points his hand like a gun and calls out to the man.